Hello, welcome to another episode of Lee Plastering and Rendering. And today we are tackling these two beautiful ceilings. You can see there they are incredibly old original lab and plaster ceilings, over almost 3.5 meters high. Massive, beautiful property with original cornice that the customers would like to keep, understandably. And they've got a beautiful, fairly new hardwood floor down as well. So the first thing is to protect everything thoroughly. So on this one, we've actually used 2 sheets of Correx, which is the padded extra thick plastic sheeting. And on top of that, because the ceilings are so high, we've got the scaffold towers. We will be using actual sheets of ply underneath the scaffolding wheels, because whilst that Correx is great for foot traffic and it will take small hop-ups, a large scaffold tower, the wheels on a large scaffolding tower could still potentially bump in. So you'll notice under each wheel there is either some ply or a very heavy duty rubber matting which we also use. So anyway, first thing we do when tackling ceilings like this, the customer do not want to remove the whole ceiling, so we are overboarding. The first thing we do is find all the existing ceiling joists. So what I'm doing there, using a multi-tool, I'm cutting exploratory holes in the ceiling to find out where the timbers are. I'll cut little rectangles just to allow me to find the full timber, and I've also avoided the final direction, and I will do that both sides. This will obviously help me allow me to know exactly where to screw the screws in. And using my trusty string line, once we've found the joists on both sides, we string line like so, with a beautiful chalk line, so we know exactly where all our timbers are, making fixing new plasterboards much easier. Quick, well-earned break. Got to stay well fed, of course. And to do the plasterboard, I like to use a Festool or Togo, using collated screws. This I'm using 55mm low by 40mm, just about screws. The plasterboard screws want to be at least 1/3 deep into the original timber. And because I'm going over an existing ceiling, plus 12.5mm forward, and I want to be a good 20mm into the timber as well, so 55mm to be effect for that. We bring in the plasterboards. You can see actually a sneaky peek there. We've actually done the ceiling there, and this is a little flashback here using funky angling. It's really seen a particularly horrific condition. Because the houses and the rooms are, this ceiling was in drastic need of renovation of these ceilings. So this method, fixing up new plasterboards, notice how many screws there are. There is 7 per 1.2 meters, which is exactly how many you need. And so we will be using shadow gap beads, which we do like to use. I love them. It leaves a brilliant, professional, detailed finish around the edge, connecting the cornicing to the plasterboard. In my opinion, it is the most professional way to finish this type of work. And I'm using Insta360 footage there. The ceiling's not better. They're about 8 meters by 4 meters. Slightly, I'm using angle. You'll see we like to glue our beads up as well. and also mesh with tape all of our joins. It's also good to double check all your screw heads. We did have a few whoopsie daisies where we had a few screws sticking out, so I'm going over them, popping them back in, just making sure they're all flush. And then any screw heads that pop through the paper, we also put a bit of scrim or flip tape over, just to help re-strengthen that where it's popping. That's looking pretty good and ready for plastering. So once we've got the first coat of plaster on, I like to use a speed skim to whip over it and give it a nice flatten, as you can see I'm doing there. Now, whilst these ceilings, they're incredibly high, which does make them feel much bigger than they are. They're not a huge area. Having the shadow gap detailing does add an awful lot of sort of time and effort. Then not quite as straightforward as if you were just doing it in the corner. So we decided to, rather than do two at the same time, we'll take more time. Also, from a practical point of view, it was a bit tricky to scaffold out the entire room whilst getting in and out of the door as well. So we sort of broke it into two halves, which worked really well. And you see this just like that, and now we're getting the second coat on in warp speed there. But this was an absolute, such a beautiful property, a stunning property, sort of just a little bit outside of Guildford, in Surrey. It's the ceilings being so high, I think they were just over 3.2 metres high, if memory serves. And it's just a bit too high off ladders. You can use bandstands and scaffold boards, but I find they're a bit wobbly. This particular method here, using two scaffold towers on wheels that we could just move either side, worked really well. And that is one ceiling down. So very well. Another great thing about this method, we've screwed into the original joists, so this pulls the whole ceiling back up to the joists, giving it a brand new lease of life. So this ceiling isn't going anywhere. Fast forwarded a little bit here, and just to give you a bit more detail on the shadow gap beads, because they're not easy. You can see there, that detail there, see the original cornicing there, perhaps with a little bit of TLC, but in general it's in pretty decent condition. But that shadow gap bead leaves such a beautiful professional finish around the edge. And then not having to remove all the ceilings saves a heck of a lot of mess. And expense, because it produces a lot of extra labour to remove the ceiling, and then expense to actually remove all the waste as well. And this way you've got more insulation in your ceiling. I hope you found it useful. If you've enjoyed this video at all, please like and subscribe. The last time was to remove one of the layers of Correx down for the decorative, which we are happy to do. And watch it as tidy up as we go, to leave our properties lovely and tidy.